So there's a really interesting debate happening right now on social media between Gabor Mate and Jordan Peterson, and it's a debate by proxy, meaning that they haven't actually talked with each other, which would be a great conversation. I would love to see that. But the debate's happening in people posting, very posts and interviews where Gabor Mate is very publicly um, arguing against some things that Jordan Peterson has said about raising children, namely that one of Jordan Peterson's advice, which I think might actually be taken out of context, is that when a child is acting out, one of the ways to deal with that child who is acting out is to isolate them, to separate them from the society or separate them from the family temporarily, basically putting them on a timeout and until they can learn how to regulate their emotion and to regulate their state. And uh, Gabor's argument against that is that, by doing that, you're signaling to the child that experiences like rage and anger just aren't acceptable, and that can create trauma for the child. So, I would like to kind of step into this and help make a little bit of sense of this because I have some experience raising a young man. And also, I think about things very deeply from a psychological perspective as well. And I respect both of these psychologists immensely. And I just think that they're really talking past each other. And the first point is this, is that um, everybody's different. We see this at work. Not every person is motivated by the same rewards or by the same fears or by the same, fears of repercussion. Everybody is different. And the same thing is true for children. One child is going to respond one way while another child is going to respond positively a different way. And I think that really the key is paying attention to how the individual child responds in a similar way to if we're going to run an experiment. When I do this, how do they respond? Instead of just having a blanket statement or a blanket way of doing things where, when my child acts out, whoever that child is, this is how they are going to be treated. And I think that, it's easy for us to get lazy with our rules, to say, okay, well, this is the rule of the house. As the man of the house, this is the rule. You pay attention to the rule. These are the specific repercussions. And I think it's important to have, rules and repercussions very specifically delineated, because that way there's no confusion. But the problem happens, I believe, when those rules, they don't apply to the individual, or the repercussions don't apply to the individual. So the first point is, I think that really what the key is for us to be really present with our child and to make sure that we're doing things, motivating them in a way that's specific to them. The second point that actually both of them make, that have made in different interviews at different times, is that one of the roles of the adults is to use our nervous system as a way to regulate the nervous system of our children. Another way to say that is our children often tap into our nervous system because their nervous system isn't as well developed, or hopefully, we're developed enough in our nervous system and our ability to regulate our emotions. But compared to our children, they generally aren't as developed. And they can actually tap into our nervous system in order to regulate their emotions. And how they do that is by us modeling behavior. So as a parent, I really think that one of the key things, one of the most critical things that we can do for the health of our family, for the health of our children, is to pay close attention to how we are regulating our own nervous system, how we're regulating our own behavior. And if we're not super happy with it, then start working on it. Work with a professional. Start doing some mindfulness meditation. Start learning how to be comfortable with uncomfortable emotions. So that way, when the people who rely on us and when they need us the most, we can show up just by being present. Okay, that's what I got.